star.
Come here.
How you na dey?
How you na dey?
How you na dey? Oh,
Hey.
your bonge radio for Ibadan. JDN 101.5 FM.
Don't land the cooler.
Ibadan. He don't come home.
Oh.
Leave am like that, make it be like that.
Anywhere you are, anywhere you go.
Leave am like that, make it be like that.
Entertainment, music, exotic program and news.
Leave am like that, make it be like that.
Number 1 Church Street for Joyce B. Ibadan.
Leave am like that, make it be like that.
Make you not there, Yaramo, Yaramo, Yaramo.
Leave am like that, make it be like that.
Morning, and it's another beautiful Wednesday morning from JDN Radio 101.5 FM. Today, the 11th of February 2026, and this is the newspaper review. And this morning, I'm here with 3 dailies, with the Punch newspaper, Daily Post, and also The Nation. My name is Abiodun Samson, and I will be giving you the stories that made it to the front page of the dailies for this morning. This morning, I will be starting with The Nation for the 11th of February 2026 with this first headline that says Results Transmission. Senate, House disagree on real time. And also, LED uses policies to improve life, says President. NRC targets 40.7 trillion naira 2026 revenue. Dangote slashes petrol prices by 25 naira per litre. River crisis, Wike hopeful Fubara will abide by agreement. And those are the stories that made it to the front page of The Nation for this morning. Alright, so moving forward to the Punch newspaper for this morning with this first headline that says Electoral Act Amendment, Opposition protects as Senator backs manual result transmission. State pays 455 billion naira to service foreign loans. Nigeria slips in global ranking, joins 38 most corrupt nations. Wike Fubara called truce after Tinubu's move. U.S. deployed 200 troops to Nigeria. PDP crisis. Appeal court orders harmonized briefs ahead of judgment. Army deploys special forces to Benue, Taraba, Nasarawa. Pressure mounts on Bayelsa governor over choice of deputy. Security guards hacked to death at Ogun Church altar. And those are the stories that made it to the front page of the Punch newspaper for today, the 11th of February, 2026. And moving to Daily Post for this morning, appeal court to determine legality of PDP National Convention, February 12. Electronic transmission is just a backdoor plot, says PDP Bioman Senate decisions. Electronic transmission, real-time does not give transparent elections, says Cyril Dixon. And also, Daniel Iwanchukwu takes over as Vice Chancellor of Federal University of Ikwo. And also have the story outrage against Akpabio-led Senate mounts as Nigeria insists on e-transmission of results. And those are the stories from Daily Post for this morning. If you're just tuning in, it's to the newspaper review on JDN Radio 101.5 FM. And right now I'm moving to the Punch newspaper with this headline that says Electoral Act Amendments. Opposition protests as Senate backs manual result transmission. The Senate on Tuesday bowed on intense public pressure and approved the electronic transmission of election results to the Independent National Electoral Commission Result Viewing Portal, IREV, while permitting manual collation to serve as a backup where technology fails. The decision followed an emergency reconsideration of a dispute clause in the Electoral Act, repeal and reenacted Amendment Bill 2026 after days of nationwide outrage, street protest, and sustained criticism from opposition figures, civil society organizations, and youth movement. However, the upper chamber stopped short of making electronic transmission compulsory and rejected calls for the explicit inclusion of real-time upload of results, a key demand by protesters who accused lawmakers of attempting to weaken the electoral safeguards ahead of the 2027 general election. Under the review provision, presiding officers at polling units are required to electronically transmit results to the IREF portal after voting and documentation have been completed. The amendment, however, provides that where electronic transmission cannot be carried out due to communication or network challenge, the manual result sheet from EC8A shall become the primary basis for collation and declaration. And the story continues on the Punch newspaper for this morning. on the Punch newspaper for this morning with this headline that says Wike Fubara called truce after Tinubu's move. Rivers State political tension eased on Tuesday as former governor and minister of the Federal Capital Territory Nelson Wike and his successor Governor Similaye Fubara appeared to soften their rivalry following a final mediation by President Bola Tinubu. Wike, speaking shortly after inspecting infrastructure projects in Abuja, said the intervention by the president will be the last time. I believe by the grace of God, this will be the last time. I have told the assembly to obey Mr. President, which I know they will not hesitate to do. I also believe that this is the final time we will hear this kind of discourse. All I can tell you is that Mr. President has been very kind to the people of the state. If there seems to be a problem between the legislature and the governor as a father, he really has to intervene. Wike stated. Fubara also spoke glowing of Wike doing the inspections of the over 50-kilometer Port Harcourt Ring Road project he promised will be completed and delivered by October. The project is very important considering the person who conveyed it. My Oga, the Honorable Minister, he had a very big vision, a belief that if I achieve this project in record time, people will be happy with me. And the story continues on the Punch newspaper for today, the 11th of February, 2026. And moving forward to the nation for this morning with this headline that says, let's use policies to improve lives, says President. Against the backdrop of tough economic reforms and rising public expectation, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu yesterday threw down a challenge to governors, ministers and top governor institutions. He demanded that policy decisions must now translate into visible improvement in the daily lives of Nigerians. Speaking at the close of the two-day National Economic Council NEC conference in Abuja, the president insisted that his administration's renewed hope agenda would not be judged by resolution or rhetoric, but by concrete outcome in jobs created, road built, school strengthened, healthcare improved, and investors' confidence restored. President Tinubu, who was represented by Senate President Godswill Akpabio, warned that the gathering must not end as another high-level discussion without measurable impact. He said, reform is not an event, it is a process. It requires courage, patience, and consistency. And the story continues on The Nation for this morning. Still on The Nation with this headline that says Dangote slashes petrol price by 25 naira per litre. Dangote Petroleum Refinery has slashed its gantry price of premium motor spirit (PMS) or petrol by 25 naira per litre, lowering its ex-depot gantry rate from 799 naira to 774 naira per litre. The price adjustment was communicated to marketers last night, confirming that the new rate takes immediate effect nationwide. This is to notify you of a change of our PMS gantry price from 799 naira per litre to 774 naira per litre, noted the refinery. The statement by the refinery said the adjustment strengthens the competitiveness of locally refined products as the current landing price of imported PMS from Lome stands at about 793 naira per litre compared to Dangote Refinery ex-depot price of 774 naira per litre. And the story continues on The Nation for this morning. The newspaper review on JDN Radio 101.5 FM. Still on The Nation for this morning, the 11th of February 2026. With this headline that says NRS targets 40.7 trillion naira 2026 revenue. The Nigerian Revenue Service has projected 40.7 trillion naira target for its fiscal year. The projected figure is 6 trillion naira more than the 34.3 trillion naira in the 2026 budget already assented to by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Meeting the 40.7 trillion naira projection this year will mean that the NRC must outperform the federal government budgeted revenue estimated for the year. It is expected that the new tax laws, if well implemented, will increase revenue along the line projected by the NRS. NRS Executive Government and large taxpayers Amina Kurawa revealed the new projection during the year's leadership retreat of the service in Abuja yesterday. Moving forward to Daily Post with this headline that says Appeal Court to determine legality of the PDP National Convention, February 12. Legal file works to determine the legality or otherwise of the National Conventions of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, held in Ibadan, Oyo State, begins at the Court of Appeal in Abuja on February 12, 2026. A three-member panel of the Appellate Court, led by Justice Mohammed Danjuma, on Tuesday fixed the date for hearing in the 8th appeal filed against the November 15 and 16, 2025 National Convention of the PDP that produced the Tanimu Turaki-led National Executive of the party. At Tuesday proceedings, the Appellate Court entertained separate 8 appeals which emanated from 3 separate judgments on the national government on the National Convention held last year in Ibadan, the capital of Oyo State. The appeals were filed by the pro-Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde group, who want to rescue the party from the grab of loyalists of the Federal Capital Territory FCT Minister Nelson Wike. 2 judges of the Abuja Division of the Federal High Court had stopped the PDP from proceeding with the convention, while a High Court in Ibadan gave the party the go-ahead and had also ordered INEC to monitor, supervise, and recognize the outcome of the convention. And the story continues on Daily Post for this morning. Moving back to the Punch newspaper with this headline that says U.S. deploy 200 troops to Nigeria. The United States has deployed about 200 troops to Nigeria to train the country's military in the fight against Islamic militants. According to the report by the Wall Street Journal on Tuesday, an American military official told the newspaper that the deployment comes weeks after the U.S. President Donald Trump accused Nigeria of failing to protect Christians from terrorist attack. The report said the troops were expected to strengthen Nigerian counterterrorism capacity through training and operational support. It added that the newly deployed personnel will supplement a small number of U.S. military advisors already in Nigeria who assist local forces with intelligence to identify targets for military strikes, U.S. and Nigerian officials said. And the story continues on the Punch newspaper for this morning. And as you know that we want you to be part of the newspaper review within the next 4 minutes, and I will be reading out the headlines that I've read their stories for this morning. From the Punch newspaper, I read that the Electoral Act amendment, opposition protest as senators back manual result transmissions. And I also read that Wike Fubara called truce after Tinubu's moves. And also I read the story that U.S. deployed 200 troops to Nigeria. And also I read the headline that says state pays 455 billion naira to service foreign loans. And moving forward from there, I read the stories from The Nation for this morning. I said that let's use policies to improve lives, says President. That is from The Nation. And I also read that NRS targets 40.7 trillion naira 2026 revenue. And I also read a story that Dangote slashes petrol price by 25 naira per liter. And also moving forward, I read the story from Daily Post for this morning from the headline, and I read the story that says the appeal court to determine the legality of the PDP National Convention, February 12. So to be part of the conversation on the newspaper review within the next 4 minutes, you can call the studio line on 07048 001015 and 08022102163. 07048001015 and 08022102163. Still the newspaper review on JDN Radio 101.5 FM. And taking the story from the Punch newspaper that says state pays 455 billion naira to service foreign loans. State paid 455.38 billion naira in foreign debt service in 2025, up from 362.08 billion naira in 2024, according to the Federation Account Allocation Committee figures released by the National Bureau of Statistics and obtained and analyzed. The year-on-year comparison indicates that the subnational government foreign debt deduction rose by 93.30 billion naira, representing a 25.77% increase in 2025 over the prior year. In plain terms, states collectively lost a larger share of their FAAC inflows to external loans repayments and related obligations in 2025 than in 2024. tightening the fiscal space available for salaries, capital projects, and routine governance. The monthly patterns in 2025 also show steps down rather than a smooth curve. Total foreign debt service across the 36 states stood at 40.09 billion naira in January before easing to 39.10 billion naira in February, a month-on-month drop of 994.96 billion naira or 2.48%. And this analysis is on the Punch newspaper for this morning. And as you know, that will be calling it a wrap right now on the newspaper review on JDN Radio 101.5 FM. Do not forget that the newspaper review in Yoruba language translation will be coming up shortly within the next 5 minutes, and that is our phone Nirui. So if you have any comment, any conversation, or whatever you want to say about what I have read out, you can always communicate or call in as at that time and give in your opinion about the stories you felt you want to say something about. And do not forget that the newspaper review continues tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. on your dial 101.5 FM. My name remains Abiodun Samson. And do not forget that the program continues on JDN Radio 101.5 FM, the only radio station that is broadcasting for all.